Hello fishing friends, this is Matthew with Fishing 13 bringing you another reel service and repair video. Today I have a Zebco Omega 181 that we're going to take a look at. I'm going to show you how to service this reel. Essentially this reel was previously called and introduced by Zebco as the Zebco Omega 33 XBL, I think. Anyways, it's basically the same size and it's the same reel for the most part, but they renamed it at a certain point. Like, I think it was like in the late 1980s, they renamed it the Omega 181, and they had the Omega 191, which used to be called the Omega 1. So, anyways, let's get started. Come on. Okay, here's the Omega 181. Zebco Omega reels are some of my very favorite Zebco reels. They're very well built. They're the top of the line reel. This one's a little bit rough, like the sticker right here's got scratched off and got dented here. So it's not what you'd call a collector's quality, but it's good enough for me to get tuned up and serviced and clean and back in good operational condition, because I like to fish with my vintage Zebco gear. I just love it. They work great. To service a reel like this, you'll just need a few simple tools. A little screwdriver, maybe a big screwdriver. Here's another little one. Little Phillips screwdriver. This one you don't need a nut driver because I'll show you the handles, how they come off. Maybe a little pair of pliers. You'll need some good quality reel oil. I use Lucas. You can find this at your tackle shop or online. I like this Pin Precision Reel Grease. It comes in a 2-ounce little tub, and I get a little brush to brush it on. Okay, and that's about all the tools that I need. For washing it, though, I do occasionally use an old toothbrush and a dish, like a pan of hot soapy water. The other things that I like to use, if it's really greasy and the grease is hard, I like to use WD-40 as a solvent, because it does not harm the plastic parts or stickers or anything like that on the reel. But I use it as a cleaner, and I wipe it down thoroughly and sometimes wash it off later with soapy water. I like to use WD-40. I also will use from time to time some PB Blaster, just some kind of a penetrating oil that will help clean off things. I don't like to use something like some harsh chemicals like Brake Clean or that kind of stuff that comes in a spray can. So to get started on a reel like this, the first thing you want to do is loosen the drag all the way. Okay, that's the way the drag comes apart pretty simple. This one has a cap lock on here, so you just need to turn this like one turn 180 degrees. That's all, or 360 degrees. Then you're ready to take off the front cap. So that'll come off pretty easy. If you have trouble taking them off, you may need to tricks to take them off, or put it in the freezer for a while, put it in hot water. Just have to work it off. Okay, I bought this reel used off of online. As I take them apart, I like to inspect things. This seems to be in okay shape. That cam right there, sometimes these cams, if they're used a lot and they're not taken care of, those cams can wear down flat. So we take off the cap and the spinner cone, and we need to take off the drag system, and we take it off by taking and removing this little E-clip right here. Okay, there it is. And then you remove this drag washer. It's a unique drag washer that they made for this one. Has these 3 little Teflon tabs on the stainless steel piece right there. That's the drag washer. Oh, we need to take the back off and remove the line brake, or else it won't come off. So let's take the back off and remove the line brake. To remove the line brake, reach over and hold on to the line brake here so you can push down and get this. Because what you got to do, well, you have to take off this little tab right there and then push down and remove that tab right there. And take out this little crossbar piece right here. Okay, and set it aside. Then this line brake will come out. You just push those tabs down and there the spool fell off. Now this is falling off. We'll fix that. Basically what you do is you use some rubber cement. That's why I use just something it's not going to be like super like epoxy or something, but you can do what you want. I just like to use rubber cement. This does not come off. It's actually riveted to right here to the top, and it doesn't come off. So we can't remove it because it's riveted in place. The way you remove this handle, because it is ambidextrous, and sometimes you buy these used and it's missing this little plug right here, but this little plug will come out. It's just friction fit, in there. And then you can actually take in, it's kind of stiff, but you take the handle off and you can move it to the side, and it just clips in there with a little spring that's right there that holds that in there. But that's the way you do it. And it's got a little slot in the inside there. You gotta line up that slot and it'll click in place, Let's make sure, I'll show you. Just like that. But you can turn it around really quick and easy. It's the same way on the Omega 33. Okay, I want to take this gear out right here and the center shaft so I can get down and service the bearings that are in here. There's one bearing right there. So we just need this little screwdriver, and we're going to remove this little cap here. This here. We also clean up and release completely. Okay, now this will come out. Now when I'm taking this apart, I want to be really careful to watch how things work here. But one of the things I notice is there's an anti-reverse and here's an anti-reverse lever right there. So when I put it back together, I know I gotta get that in the right place. Right there, you can see that. Okay, there, that's out. All those races will come off, so let's take one off. Okay, I got it off now. Pay attention to how I take this off because I don't want to put it on backwards. But this little lever right here kind of sticks out at like 120 degrees. And that's the way it goes back on. Then I can slide off this other brass bushing right there and then get this cleaned up really well. I want to get this center shaft out, but to get the center shaft out, I'm going to have to take some things apart here. It can be kind of tricky. It's got like a car pin here. We'll take that out. We'll take the spring off, and we'll have to push this down through the other way because this right here, this shaft doesn't come through that way. It comes out that way. So let's take off this little car pin. And push down on that just to hold it out of the way. Then remove that little car pin and carefully let this back up. That spring comes off. There's no cap on that. Oh, there's a little piece right here that goes underneath the, and then this comes out right here. So we'll get that all cleaned up. And then need to move a couple things out of the way because then we'll get to be able to get this out. Okay, so this center shaft is stuck in there pretty good, but I got that keeper moved out of the way. I got the anti-reverse out of the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here and use a screwdriver, get right down in there, and tap on it with another screwdriver. Get this piece out. There we go. Okay, that's pretty dirty, so I'm glad I got that out so I can service the bearing, get cleaned off. This bearing has a little keeper right there. It would come off, but I don't think I'm going to remove it. If you want to, there's a little tiny ring right there, a little snap ring right there that goes on there. If you take that off, then you'd be able to take it off, but I'm just really interested in cleaning this off. I got everything taken apart that I can because there's a lot of pieces in here that are riveted in, like the anti-reverse pawl right here is riveted in. This anti-reverse gear is riveted in. This little piece right here is riveted in. Okay, I'm in the process of getting some parts all cleaned up. But before I finish cleaning them up, I want to take the time to glue this rubber line brake back into this housing here. So I got some just weldwood contact cement. All I'm going to do is I cleaned this off and wiped it down. And so all I'm going to do is apply some rubber cement on this side. If it's under, like that, put some here. Now, if you have a better method that you prefer, let me know. But I mean, I have some instant super glue that I could use, but I like to use rubber cement because I feel like it does a good job and lasts a long time. If it comes out, I can clean it off and put some more on there. Whereas if I epoxy it in like that and it broke or something like that, it'd be hard to dig it out. Okay, I'm going to just let that continue to dry till it gets good and ready tacky, and I'll put it back there. Okay, this is dried out enough that it's nice and tacky, and I can put it back in here and work that in there and just It'll stay for years to come. Okay, that's fixed. Looks great. Okay, I got all my parts cleaned, scrubbed up and degreased, and everything looks in good shape. And I'm going to start putting it back together in reverse order. So let's get started. The first thing I want to do is I want to get the pinion gear put back in there with the bearing. So what we're going to do with this bearing is we're going to take some good quality oil. We're going to put it on here on this side right here. It's a shielded bearing, and so we just need to let that oil soak in. It'll soak past that shield. Put a little bit on this side here. So all we're going to do with this is we're going to set this in here. We want to add a little bit of oil to this bushing right here. So I'm going to put some on there, just a drop. So I put it in there. It seats into that bushing just right. So and just put it down in there. And you take this little keeper right here and slide it to the side. Just like that. That keeps it in place. Now one of the things I do want to do, I could have done this before, but I want to add some grease down there to this little anti-reverse gear. So I'll do that right now, because if I don't do it now, I'm going to have to take things apart. So we'll get down there and we'll put some grease on here. Doesn't need a lot, but we need to get some grease down in there on that anti-reverse gear. Okay. Then what we want to do before we put things back in there is we want to oil all the pivoting parts. So we'll oil that, we'll put a little bit of oil on this shaft here, right here, on this little springy part right here. We'll put a little drop of oil on that block right there. That's all we need to do. We'll put a little bit of grease down here on this anti-reverse area here. That's all. I'm going to put a little bit of grease in these little grooves right here, so next time it comes, I have to take it apart. It didn't want to come apart very well. So. Okay, now that I have that in there, we want to take and put in the center shaft right here, this brass center shaft. Okay, it's all cleaned up. I want to oil it. So let's oil it, just so it has oil on it. I'll put some oil on there. It doesn't spin around in there. It actually locks into place. This little pin right there, it goes in a groove right there. So it sits in here, but the oil will protect it over the years, because it could potentially get water in there. So we want to do that. We want to put that in there. I think I'm going to put a little bit of grease here where it spins around. Okay. Okay, so we got that in there like that. Now we need to turn our attention to putting back the spring on here and that little clip. So it has this little collar right here, little brass collar. That goes on first. And it has a little spring right here. And basically, it's exactly the same as the top and the bottom, but I did notice that it had more of a flat spot on one side, so I'm going to keep the flat spot up. Okay. And then it has this little cotter pin. This is a lot easier than put it on the little cap, and the little E-clip. There we go, got it on. Excellent. So the next thing that goes on, we need to reassemble this piece right here and put this piece back together. Now, I'll pull this up close so you can see, but this does have a side that it needs to go on. So there's a little right here, there's a little groove, and the anti-reverse pawl goes in that groove right there. So what we need to do is we need to take and carefully add some oil to this bushing and to this bushing. We'll put those on. I think I'm going to put just a little tiny bit of grease right here and right here. And put those on. Then I'm going to apply a tiny bit of grease right here. And then put this on. Remember, it goes on like this, where that little piece that sticks out that way. So we just need to put it on there and then slide it on like that. Okay? That's the way it goes. Got back together right. Now, when we put this back together, this little finger right here has to go in this little groove right there. Okay? So when you put it back together, make sure it goes in there, or the anti-reverse will not work. So let's engage the anti-reverse and get this put in there correctly. Okay. Okay, I got it. See that? Can you see that? I got this. This little finger went right in that little groove right there. So now I know that this hand traverse is going to work correctly. And I can spin it around, and it does. It works correctly. See how that engages? If I turn it off, it doesn't engage. So I got in there correctly. So now we just need to take and put the caps back on there. Now they don't need any grease on them because the grease and oil is on those bushings. You done, sorry? Okay, got those all snug down. I'm going to go ahead and pop the handle in. I'm just going to add a tiny bit of oil to this right here. So just like that. I think I'm going to put a little bit of oil on this shaft too right here so that it's easy to slip on there. There we go, snaps right in place. Next thing we want to do is we want to grease this big gear right here. So you don't want to put a lot of oil on there, grease on there, I mean. You just want to put a thin layer, keep going all the way around, and the big spur gear will grease up that little pinion gear. But they still use this system. The new Omegas, they call it the Magnum gear system. So I guess if you want to call the old one, they never did call the Magnum gear system until like the new one. Maybe they did, I don't know. Comment below if you know if they called this the Magnum gear system. I looked in the catalogs and it doesn't say anything about it. But see how that's got grease down there on that one? So just need to run that around a little bit, and that's good. Okay, we're getting closer and closer to getting this thing put back together. So the next thing we want to do is we want to put the spool back together. Let's see. We need to put the spool back together, but we gotta make sure we put the brake in first. Otherwise, we won't be able to get in there because the top sticks out, so it has to go in first. If you put this spool on first, you won't be able to get this on. So let's do that. Let's get this put back together. So you just slip in those little slots right there. Kind of got to stretch it a little bit, and it's good to go. Okay. Now this bar piece right here, I'm going to put a little bit of grease right here where the bar contacts the center pin for the center shaft, and we'll put a little bit of grease right there. That's a lot, but that's okay. Okay, and then these little springs right here, they got a little tab down here that they got set over to hold them in place. So we'll get one side put on first. Get that little spring on there. Put it in place. And then we'll get the second one on there. Then we'll use a little flat screwdriver to kind of bend this out of the way and then get put on there. Okay, everything seems to be working good. So good so far. Okay, let's put the drag system and the spool back together. So we need to grease this drag washer here. And it just requires a little bit of grease on these plastic tabs here. We need to grease this. I got some grease on there already. I got carried away, got some on there. We want to take and grease this top here because this is what cocks it, this little piece up here. And then the cam runs around on that center shaft right there. Okay. And then the small side goes down that has the clickers on there. That goes against this little mechanism that clicks right there. See that? Okay, then we need to put some grease on here. Put on this drag washer. It has keys on it, keyways, so it needs to go on a certain way. So get it right there. Make sure the drag is all the way loose. Mine is. And with the key put in there the right way, you're ready to put the E-clip, keeper clip on there. Maybe I was stuck on one of those right there, so you just gotta watch out for those. Drag works great. Let's tighten it up. Oh yeah. I don't want it too tight right now. I'm gonna have to put new line on this. I don't know how old it is, but it's probably pretty old. Okay, now servicing this. We can come back here. There's a little hole right here. We can put a couple drops of oil right there. Okay, I like to put a little bit of grease. Not much, but a little bit right here. a little drop of oil on this hinge pin and work it in. Okay, and then it's ready to go back together. And traverse works great. Now I can put on my back cover. I like to put a little bit of grease right here where it contacts the crossbar. The front cone. Don't ever put oil and grease on the place where the cap goes on, because it'll just attract sand and dirt and dust. You're out fishing, you lay your pole down and dirt gets on it. We don't want dirt on the cap where you screw the cap on. Hole goes towards the bottom. Okay, last thing to put on is this little plug right there. Yeah, this line has a lot of memory in it, so it doesn't always catch on the pin. It just comes out. Well, there you go. An Omega 181 Zebco. Let's tighten up the cap lock. Oh, it was looser than I thought it was. Just needs to be snug. But what a nice reel. I'm going to enjoy using that one. I'll put some new 8 or 10 pound test on there. This looks like 10 pound test, maybe even 14. But like with 10 pound test, it'll cast a long ways, and 10 pound test will catch any of the trout and walleye and panfish that I want to catch. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure you give me a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, consider subscribing. I have over 100 videos on how to repair Zebco reels if you're a Zebco fan like me. Thanks, and have a great day, and enjoy the next time you go out fishing. Bye.